Oh, my connection going. My connection going. My connection going.
Hello?
I do very much hope I can still be heard. Oh no, what's going on here? Hi, hello. For pity's
We're hearing you, Dion.
sake. What's going on? My sincerest apologies, ladies and gentlemen. It does appear that internet is a very fickle thing, but hopefully tonight the leaders that are joining me will not be fickle. They'll be the greatest representatives that this country has to offer, or at least that's what they're going to be telling you tonight. Hello, everybody, and welcome to RTÉ's Leaders Debate. I'm a presenter for this evening, Dinar Heathcote, and it is my layout. Don't you just like it when your manager tells you to speak and then you speak and then they don't want you to speak anymore? Fucking hell. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RTÉ's Leaders Debate. We had a very nice segue lined up, but thankfully, regardless, we've got leaders with us this evening, and now just about a presenter as well. I'm your presenter for this evening, Dinar Heathcote, and we've got a lovely host of party leaders on the stage today who are going to be answering quite a few questions that our lovely RTE team has prepared. Our team, of course, consisting of one individual, but a very talented individual who has made this debate possible. Now, we're going to be starting with some introductory statements first. That'll be 120 seconds for each of our leaders, followed by an individual question for each of our leaders, a couple of general ones as well that all of our leaders will answer. We'll finish off with a couple more questions just for each candidate before wrapping up with some closing statements. So there's quite a lot to get through today and very limited time to do so. So let's get on with this. But first, let's actually introduce who we're dealing with tonight. So up on our stage, we have the leader of Fine Gael, Safarine. That we have the leader of sorry, I got something stuck in my throat there. We have the leader of Sinn Féin, Evan B. Yates, and also the leader of the Social Democrats, Ognian Zero. At some point tonight, we should hopefully be joined on this stage by Brian. But until then, we're going to, of course, focus on the three leaders that we have so far. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear from him in just a bit. Anyway, let's move swiftly onwards. The first question of the night will be towards Safarine, the leader of Fine Gael. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to questions yet. It's opening statements. God, silly me. The internet outage is affecting my brain. We're going to start with Safarine, though, for the opening statement. Safarine, you're going to have 120 seconds for your introductory statements. You may begin.
Thank you, Dean. I want to thank Leah VNX and the rest of the staff team at RTE for meticulously organising this debate tonight. Ireland, I am ready to face the challenges of our times. Fine Gael believes that the people of Ireland knew our proposals were honest and right, and were prepared to give them a chance to work. Today, despite many difficulties and with so much more to be done, Ireland has regained her confidence and self-respect. However, many in our country are still finding it harder and harder to believe that Ireland is getting better. But we shouldn't lose hope. Ireland is not destined for decline. We are a great country full of hope, optimism, talent, and determination. That's why my united team are arguing for another mandate to deliver for our communities, supporting businesses and safeguarding Ireland's future. Only Fine Gael can be trusted to face the challenges before Ireland and ensure that government forms in the national interest, not self-interest. That is what I will be conveying to you all tonight. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Safarine. We're going to move swiftly on there over to. We're going to move swiftly on to Evan B. Yeats next of Sinn Féin. Even, I do apologise if I'm mispronouncing your name. You will have 2 minutes as well. You may begin.
Thank you, Dean. Agus tá RTE gur míle míle maithagah as an gcuir anocht, agus tá áthas orm a bheith an seo anocht. Thank you so much to RTE for the invite, and I'm so happy to be here. And tonight I will be representing Sinn Féin, and I'm so glad to have the opportunity to discuss with you all the direction that I think Ireland should take. Basically, I think a lot of people get really bogged down on the short-term fixes and the quick fixes. They see the problems that are presented to us in Ireland, and naturally, we want to fix things. We want to fix things fast. We want to get things working. But a lot of the time, it's not about getting those things working right then and there. Sometimes it's about building strong foundations that we can project into the future to build systems that are actually stable and that are actually going to function in the future and continue to grow and continue to adapt with our growing and changing society. In Sinn Féin, our approach is focused on widening participation, strengthening accountability, and actually building confidence in Ireland. We want to empower the communities, improve transparency, support culture and language, and ensure that Ireland engages in our world in a way that puts our interests first. So I'm looking forward to a hopefully constructive discussion with all the leaders tonight. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much there, Aaron, for your questions. Not questions, your statements. The brain's still not working, but Ogden, do save me here. It's time for your introductory statements. That will be 120 seconds for you as well. You may begin.
Thank you, Dion. First of all, I'd like to thank Archie for organizing this lovely debate and also covering the elections and the campaigning throughout this term. I'd like to thank them for organizing the many polls and posts about the development of this election. I'm Ogden Zero, the party leader of the Social Democrats, and I'm here to present our vision for moving Ireland forward, a vision which main purpose is to renovate Ireland and allow it to move on into the new year. I would like to welcome every party leader for coming here and taking part into democracy, and I wish to wish Eamon, leader of the Labour Party, well, as I understand he's sick. Everybody knows that at every election, we're taught Ireland's at crossroad. Better future lies within us. If we vote for Party X, we can bring change, and what other cliches we hear every elections. However, I wish to point out in this debate that this is really an election that depends the future of Ireland, because it is between the Social Democrats and the current government. It is truly in this debate we wish to point out the many failures committed by this government and the parties within it. The lack of transparency, the many
sackage of ministers without even properly announcing them, the failure to uphold their parliamentary scrutiny as ministers, and inability to show any quality to govern. And it has become clear with the defections and the decline in approvals. I hope this debate went well and we can exchange many points and arguments. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for that, Ognian. We're going to move swiftly on now to the next phase of our debate, which is, of course, individual questions to each representative. So we're going to start in pretty much the same order here. Safarine, we're going to start with you. This is a question that only you need to answer, and you will have 60 seconds to respond to this question, just so you know it's a whole minute to answer it. Now, the question is as follows. Listen closely. Safarine, after months of attempts to win government, your coalition government collapsed before reaching the midpoint of its term. An RTE poll at the time showed that 79% of respondents believed you should resign as leader of Fine Gael and as Taoiseach. Given this, why did you choose to remain in office, and why should voters trust you with another term as head of government? You have 60 seconds to answer this question, Safarine. Take it away.
Well, thank you Steve, for your question. And I would just like to point out that I was elected by the members of Fine Gael to lead Fine Gael, and I spoke to all my colleagues in my caucus, and I had full confidence in them to lead us into the election. What we saw under my government, I led a campaign for over 9 months to enter government. And what did I do? I broke through the deadlock of the Social Democrats plaguing government for 6 months before that. So what I did was I completely changed the face of the government. However, there were parties trying to cause instability. There were backroom deals within the Oireachtas to try and remove me. And what I'm saying is, I'm doing what's right, and it doesn't have to be popular. I'm building a movement of conservatives that are fully committed to delivering for Ireland. That is what I've done throughout my career, and no one is going to stop me from delivering that. No party leader is going to silence me on an
I
issue
do
that I'm very.
apologise. That is all your time, Safarine. I'm going to be quite strict with the timings here.
That's
But
fine.
thank you for your answer to that question. Now, Erin, I have a question for you now. And the question is as follows. Listen closely. Erin, many commentators have questioned your party's effectiveness as an opposition force, particularly as your polling has declined while support for the Social Democrats has increased. Why do you think voters have moved away from your party so far? And how do you intend to convince them that you are ready to lead a government? You have 60 seconds as well to answer the question. You may take it away.
Thank you. That is a very, very fair question, and I can see why the public would choose to move away from Sinn Féin and go to a party that's, I guess, more on the oppression, like the oppressive. Sorry, not the oppression, like the Social Democrats. I have always been a big person on bipartisanship. I am always willing to work with other people, whether it's for getting my own legislation passed or whether it's government legislation that I think deserves to pass, that I think is well written and I think can be implemented in a good way to really strengthen our community, obviously. But I definitely think going into the next term, what is going to set Sinn Féin apart and what I think is going to win the people back to Sinn Féin is that we are unapologetically the champion of Irish culture. We are currently the only party with two concurrent leaders, myself and obviously Leah before me, who
I
are
do
both
apologise, Erin. I will have to cut you off as that is your 60 seconds. Quite harsh, I know, but I'm going to be very strict on it, of course. Moving very swiftly on there, we're going to move over to you now, Ognian, for your individual question. Listen closely. Ognian, you frequently accuse other parties of lacking serious policy. Yet critics say your own platform is heavy on vague language and light on concrete commitments. Many voters say they still don't know where you stand on key issues. Are you avoiding clear positions? And is a highly centrist approach really capable of delivering the change the country needs? You also have 60 seconds to answer this. You may begin.
Thank you very much, Jan, for these questions and for giving me the opportunity to point out main Social Democrats policies. First of all, I don't agree that we're vague or try to dodge the questions. I'll begin with of the main Social Democrats policies, such as the introduction of a national calendar, which will improve businesses and the scheduling. We're going to introduce freedom of information laws, which and proper correspondence between government and public while requesting informations. About the Department of Defense, we are going to transfer the functions to the Department of Foreign Affairs and keep it in the Minister's Act to allow flexibility between future governments. We're going to increase the dole seats to 25 if activity is over 75%. We're going to introduce backbenchers protections. We are going to get the Senate reform done with the collaboration of the LIA's Senate reform working community. We are going to abolish the National Union and replace it with the Irish Union Council, which
I
will
do apologise,
remove
Ogden.
the straight government
That
oversight.
is also
Thank you.
your time. I understand. Very harsh, but we have to. Now, that is, of course, your individual questions for this part sorted. We'll come back to some later on, but now we move on to general questions. So you will all be answering the question that's put in front of you. We'll go in the same order each time. And yeah, you get 60 seconds each to answer the question. I believe that's simple enough. Let's start with and actually, one thing I will say to candidates, you are allowed to take digs at each other during this part. So, don't hold back. Now, let's move on to the first question for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is as follows. An RTE poll found that 91% of respondents see activity as the most pressing issue in this election. How would your government encourage greater participation in Glasgow? And what steps would you take to address the wider national inactivity crisis? We're going to go in the same order as before, so we're going to start with you, Safarine, now. You get 60 seconds to answer this. You may begin.
Well, thank you, Dean. And, I've said since I've been leader of Fine Gael that we will host a business fair and jobs fair. I didn't commit to a specific time, but I can tell you this election, within the first 2 weeks of Fine Gael entering government once again, we will host a business and jobs fair as we recognise the huge success and impact these fairs have on employment and business.
We'll
We
cancel
all,
it after 20 minutes again.
well, that's not what happened. And anyways, what we would specifically look at is we need to build a nation built by community cohesion, common sense, and collaboration. That's why we are working within the Irish Motorsports Association to get it up and running after the Social Democrats left it inactive for over 6
Where will
months.
get the development? From the toolbox?
And under my government, we've begun steps to develop. You didn't even
What
touch the
steps?
agency. Well,
What steps? Tell me.
Hey.
I actually spoke to the new president who actually presided over more development than anyone under your government.
Did you get the cars?
Your government appointed a rogue, useless director that never did anything. And where is he now? He's not here. So your policy and your
Can I
incompetence.
fact check you? Dan was
What we'll
appointed
do?
under the
What we'll
I'm
shadow
not.
do,
No, I'm not
Ogden?
talking about Dan. I'm talking about Noah. Noah was appointed by the Social Democrats, not Dan. Dan was appointed by
Safarine,
Leah.
Ogden, I'm going to reel you both in. Ogden, I will allow you to come back to that during your part if you would like. But going in the same order here, we're going to go to Erin next, just so she can get an answer into the question, and we can keep talking about this in just a moment. So, Erin, if you would like to have your 60 seconds, you may begin.
Perfect, thank you. I would just like to point out that while Bo says she's going to host a business fair in the first 2 weeks of her government, she had 3 weeks in government, and yet we have not seen a business fair from her. So I don't know what's changed between now and 3 weeks ago. Why she's suddenly able to host a business fair, I don't know. Generally, when it comes to activity in Glasgow in particular, I do think that while it's a highly stigmatized idea, I guess, I do really think that a county council being implemented can bring activity into our games. I do think that there's a gap that's not being addressed between the people that actually play our games and the people that are sitting in the Dáil currently. And this gap is what a county council could address. If we get people on the council that are actually the people that are active in the community, the people that actually play the game, the people that attend every SSU, the people who actually should be heard on what we need in the game, but maybe aren't being heard. If we're able to get these voices heard and implement things into the game that the people actually want, I definitely think that this can drive attendance up in SSUs.
Right, thank you very
And
much, Erin. That is your time. I do apologise. Ognian, it is now your moment, of course, to answer this question. You also have 60 seconds, but of course, that is your chance to address some of Safarine's claims there. So you may begin.
Thank you very much, Tian. Obviously, business fairs, county councils, whatever, it does not address the elephant into the room, which is the fact that the government should have closer relations within the group management and the development team, because that is the main weapon which activity and the proper resources are brought into to properly coordinate roleplay events, which is what leads the game. You need criminals for the police to do stuff, and you need police for the criminals to do stuff, etc., etc. Obviously, you need the rule of the in-game businesses, so that's why the Social Democrats pledged to collaborate with group management on the introduction of in-game forums where the government would help businesses on the administrative side to set up their in-game businesses with the group staff collaborating with their implementation in-game. This will also help for the proper release for Project S and other endeavors with the group management. Obviously, also collaborations for events such as protests, rallies, political campaigns, and whatnot. This is what the Social Democrats aim for proper collaborations between
That is your
parties
time, I'm
and
afraid. That is your 60
divine.
seconds up. Unless there are any further comments to say, we can move on to the next question. Are all leaders and representatives here happy with this?
I would just like to point out something.
I will give you a couple of seconds.
Well, the state has no source of activity other than the activity that people within the community create. And if the state wishes to create more activity, it can do so by appealing to community members. The government doesn't create activity, it only pushes it further. Fine Gael is dedicated to protecting our community's activity, protecting the activity of our public services. These are our two great tasks, and these demands have to be reconciled. And that's clearly not what the Social Democrats are offering you tonight.
Radio.
May I receive a rebuttal?
Go ahead. We do have a little bit of extra time, but do make it quick.
Okay, thank you very much, Tian. Obviously, what we're hearing from Fianna Gael is basically we're going to bring people to the game and do what? Honestly, do what? Micah was better at bringing activity into the game by shooting and then disappearing after 3 days. Our plan is just bring people, show something people not interested into it, and then leave. I have no bloody idea what Fianna Gael is proposing except trying to circle around the issue. Thank you.
Right. Well, I'm very happy we've had a lot of discussion on this. It's obviously one of the most important questions of the night, but we must move on, ladies and gentlemen. So the next question, do listen closely. Again, we'll go in the same order, but do listen closely for this question. Shanid reform is a major issue this election. Sources in the Irish Observer reports that members of the Shanid Reform Working Group are frustrated with the pace of change and are calling for faster reforms. How would your government approach Shanid reforms, or the approach to Shanid, and what steps would you take to reform and strengthen the upper chamber? So we'll start in the same order as last time. I did almost misread something on my script there. Safarine, I'm going to go straight to you. You have a minute to answer this question. You may begin.
Well, thank you, Dean. And, I'm someone who does what I says I will do. I don't believe in Shannon reform. I believe that the chamber is perfectly fine as it is. I support the two-class system. However, I'm willing to accept that people are not happy with the current Shannon composition, and that is totally acceptable. As Taoiseach, I allowed this working group to continue. I support the working group to propose Shannon reform. It's constructive. You have people for and you have people against. So it always is a bipartisan issue that I'm willing to work on. But other people can U-turn if they want to, but I'm sticking to my gut, and I think that is no standard reform, keep the two-class system. As I understand it, a lot of people don't understand it, but obviously that's their way of understanding how the upper chamber works. And, I welcome the great voices within the working group. We've had some really constructive dialogue, and I hope that continues across both parties.
That is your time. Thank you very much, Safarine. We're going to move straight now over to Erin for Erin's answer. Again, you are allowed to interrupt, but keep those interruptions, concise and minimal if possible. So, Erin, you have 60 seconds as well to answer the question. You may begin.
Perfect, thank you. So obviously the bottom line is there wouldn't be a working group on Seanad reform if people didn't think that the Seanad needed reform. The main, I guess, job of the Seanad in this country should be checks and balances. And if we can change the Seanad to work better, to do its job of checks and balances, I definitely think that this is what we should strive to do. I completely understand the frustration within the working group. It has been slow, but I don't think it's been slow because of the lack of ideas. It's generally there's a tendency to circle around. There's lots of, I guess, opposing points of views being thrown at it. But at the end of the day, that is what the working group is made for debate, for discussion. There's never going to be one size fits all solution to the Seanad reform. And at the end of the day, it's going to the people. It's going to the people in a referendum. So whatever is proposed from the working group, like I said, it's going to have to pass a referendum. It's going to have to be something that the people are willing to work with. So generally, in government, I would continue. Sorry.
I do apologise. That is your time. We're going to have to attach timers to your podiums, I think, going forwards. We might have to do that as our own debate reform. Now, Ognian, we move over to you now. For your answer, you get 60 seconds to answer. You may begin.
Oh, sorry, my microphone was off. Thank you very much
Oh,
for this
right.
question.
There you go.
Obviously, I believe, as pointed out by the Taoiseach, I find it kind of frustrating on her behalf. Oh, most of her legislations failing the Seanad. I believe the most issues coming from the Seanad is the lack of collaborations between the members of the Seanad and government and independent senators, such as many pieces of legislation have failed the Seanad or been delayed. Obviously, Social Democrats outside of the reform are going to bring proper communication channels between government opposition senator and independent senators, such as the presidential Taoiseach appointees and leader of the opposition appointees. About the Seanad reform itself, there are many different opinions within the Seanad about should be check and balances or to represent, should there be a class system or should there be directly elected or there should be a commission and what not. We support that there are experienced members within the members of the Seanad, and we also support that there is a representation from government and oppositions. We wouldn't oppose the
I
creation of
do
external
apologise,
body
Ognian. That is
to vet
all of your
senatory.
time
Thank you.
there. I do apologise. Unless there's any further sort of one-off comments to make here, we do have the next question to go to, so we might as well go to it. I am going to remix this question a little bit by asking for one-word answers for this one, and the question is very simple. We'll go literally one-word answer. That's all you need to give. The question is as follows: how would you rate the performance of the last government? So we are referring to Safarine's previous government here. So we'll start in the same order. Safarine, how would you rate the previous government?
I would say a good 5. It wasn't me. Without me, it would be a 10, but with everyone else, it would be a 5. Yeah.
I must emphasize I did ask for a word and not a
5.
number, but it's okay.
5.
The word 5. Okay.
Yep, the word
That'll do.
5.
Erin, how would you rate the performance of the last government?
Inconsistent.
Okay, and Ognian, how would you rate the performance of the last government?
Stagnating.
Lovely use of vocabulary there, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely use of numbers as well, apparently. We're going to move straight on to the next question, which also has some lovely numbers in it. Listen very closely. Private sector activity has fallen sharply, with the CSO, Central Statistics Office, reporting a 36% drop in domestic private employment since November of 2025. How would your government work to revive the private sector businesses and create sustainable jobs in Ireland? Safarine, we'll start with you. You get a minute to answer this question. You may proceed.
Thank you, Dean. And, Fine Gael is committed to legislating Jobs Ireland, which aims to establish an agency that offers work placements, skills and training sessions and pathways to employment, as well as setting up a partnership between agencies and local businesses to offer these opportunities, which will help recruit employees into the private sector. Also, we want to utilize the Business and Media Spotlights Awards to reward and incentivize competition, creativity, and consistency. We also want to set up a journalist apprenticeship scheme. We want to revitalise the Insolvency Service of Ireland, which is going to assess and improve and support businesses. But our policy for business is common sense and will deliver a strong and sustainable economy to generate the growth that Ireland needs. And that's what I'm really emphasising on.
All right, thank you very much there, Safarine. We're going to move straight on now to Erin. You also get a minute to answer this question. You may begin.
Thank you. I definitely think there is an issue in the private sector. And I generally think the issue is going to be for new people coming into the business world, where to break through, where to actually begin their business, how to start up, where to implement the business, what to actually do, and how to implement it in a way that actually works in Ireland. Because obviously, a row nation, it's a very unique take on things. You can't just do things as you would in real life. So generally, I think it would be really nice to set up like a advice forum with seasoned business owners, your Jeremy O'Mara's and your Krispy Kremes, people that have had businesses for a long time and that have seen great success with their businesses, to sit down, talk with, give advice to new business owners, help them with their startups, just generally help them break onto the market. And shockingly, I do agree with Bo Warren. I do think we need a concise jobs portal where people can actually advertise that they're looking.
I do apologise. That is all your time. The 60 seconds is so harsh. I'm beginning to see that now, but got to abide by it. It's too deep. Ognian, it's your time to face the 60 seconds. You must answer the question during those 60 seconds. You may begin.
Thank you very much, Gian. Obviously, companies can advertise themselves through the private employment channel. There are many businesses such as the Tuffan, Saint Tuffan Asylum, and the Jeremy Natural Gas and Oils, who have unique rules within our private sector. And let's not forget about the medias, which also try to report news on different angles. There are more satirical ones, there are more objective and serious one, etc., etc. Obviously, the private sector decline is an indication of the overall community activity, and the Social Democrats, I believe, is above other parties because we have actually talked with many businesses, medias, and all different categories. What we're going to do is try to support these businesses through the in-game forum to support the implementation of these in-game businesses, as they're the main source of in-game of not also in-game but also private sector activity. We're going to support media by the introduction of freedom of information law, so they can get easier access to informations which they might consider
I do apologise, Ognian. That is also your 60
salient. Thank you.
seconds up. Although, any final comments or interjections to make about your opponent's policies at all? We'll spare a
Yes.
couple of seconds for it. Safarine, a couple of seconds for you. Take it away.
Well, Erin, you said you wanted a jobs portal, but it was under Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil that they repealed Jobs Ireland in the Central Statistics Office Act 2025, which clearly says at the bottom, upon the commencement of this act, Title 73 bracket Jobs Ireland will be repealed from the statute book. If she supports jobs portals now, why did her party vote against it? Or vote the agency?
Thank you.
Erin?
I did say I support jobs portals. I did not say I support Jobs Ireland. I don't think Jobs Ireland did what it was meant to do as a bill, and
It
I
was
definitely
already
think that a
utilised,
new
though.
bill. It
Can I
wasn't.
just point?
It wasn't.
It was the Social
One of your
Democrats
main
that
debate point. One of your
introduced
main
it.
debate points.
Oh, one at a time.
Yeah,
Go on, Aaron.
one of your main debate points over, I would say, the last 8 months has been Jobs Ireland has never been utilised. You can't just turn around now and say that Jobs Ireland has been utilised, because it hasn't.
Can I just point out the smelling hypocrisy in this room? It's getting quite smelly. I cannot take it anymore. Isn't it the same party which is now in government which decided to cut out the Jobs Ireland from their program on government and essentially betraying their electorate on that pledge?
No, it was within the programme for government that we agreed
it
that I
wasn't.
would. It
Jobs Ireland
was
wasn't
agreed
in
in the
the
programme
program
for
for
government that Jobs Ireland wouldn't be introduced, but it would be introduced at a later period. But obviously, due to the instability of that government, that bill never got introduced. But it was the Social Democrats who introduced the bill,
So you
never
basically cut it out
utilised,
and then
never
said we're going to
utilised
create
the
the Almighty
agency.
and see what's going to happen.
Ognian voted for the
Oh.
bill, and then he actually voted with the government that Leah led to vote down and repeal the bill. So
Okay, did I
he's
pledge?
claiming he wants jobs. He voted it down. He is a man that has made broken promise after broken promise, and if you give him the keys to government, he will just deliver broken promise.
Okay, listen. In the
Broken
last 8
promise
months,
after
I
broken
could
Right,
shot
promise.
Lena,
every time they
In the
warned.
last
we're
8
gonna have
months,
to
both of your
In the
parties
last
have
8
ruined the
months, I
we're
took a
gonna
country.
have
shot
to
every time
restore a
Bullhorn
little
mentioned
bit
Jobs
of
Ireland,
Well,
order
and
here,
now
I'm
I'm an
afraid.
alcoholic.
I'm
I'm pretty
sorry.
sure
Oh,
you're the
Both
2-week
at the
deserter.
chance.
I'm
well,
gonna have to. I'm
in
gonna
the
have to step
last
in. We
No.
have to put the foots down,
in the
ladies
last
and
8 months
gentlemen.
there was Oswald.
Ognian,
How
I'm
does it
also gonna
separate you? Thank you.
have to put you down as well here. Aaron, I empathise with you, but we do have to move on. Um, and we're going to move on to an even greater question. It's time to talk about the judiciary. I know, exciting. Do listen closely to this question. Successive governments have repeatedly neglected the judiciary in the eyes of many, often offering little more than vague initiatives like Barrister of the Month. How is your plan to reform, strengthen, and modernise the justice system any different from the repeated failures we've seen over the past months and, dare I say, the past years? I'm going to start with you, Safarine, for this question, as is the norm during this debate. So you get a minute to answer it. You may begin.
Well, thank you. And can I just say, Barrister of the Month was a Social Democrat Sovs UK copied policy that Ognian and Oscar O'Sullivan proposed. However, that is completely different to our approach. We want to reform the Attorney General appointment process using an independent selection panel. We want to introduce a financial Robux reward for barristers appointed special counsel, who are meeting defined professional standards and who are demonstrating integrity and commitment to the judiciary. We want to engage in formal discussions with the chairperson of the legal aid agency to take concrete steps to restore and strengthen legal aid services. We want to appoint additional members to the Bar Council to reach full operational capacity and improve governance. And we want to modernise the bar exam and study guide to improve accessibility and to support growth within the legal profession.
Right, thank you very much for your answers there, Safarine. Going to move straight on now to Erin, with a can in hand, I imagine, no doubt. Erin, you got a minute to answer this question. You may begin.
Reporting live from Alcoholics Anonymous. I can tell you how I would reform the judiciary. Well, I generally do think that there's kind of like not a stigma, but there's like this mysticism that surrounds the legal career in Ireland and the judiciary, and I think that's something that we really need to break down. I get it can be a lot of documents, a lot of filing, all these things, and it's so annoying, it's so boring. That's completely understandable. But generally, I do think we have some very underutilized court games. And I think these court games could be so fun to bring in for moot court competitions, practicing, getting people into the courts, getting people using legal terminology. And this could even be built upon creating even more pathways into legal careers. I seriously think these are severely underutilized. If we
Right,
get
thank you
people
very
into the
much.
games.
I was just going to
Oh,
say
sorry.
your time ran out immediately as you finished there. Thank you very much, Erin. Ognian, let's hope you don't run out of time. You've got 60 seconds. Use them wisely. You may begin.
Oh, thank you very much, Tian. Obviously, the judiciary is a very boring endeavor, which I'm not even a barrister, so I have no right to speak on this matter. However, the main issue is the lack of cases, which is borne by the reason it is very hard to commit a criminal case unless it's electoral fraud or corruption. The social and the in-game crimes are binded by the in-game activity, so the ones cannot go without the other. So what the Social Democrats would propose is an attempt to increase cases whenever possible through our plan for stimulating in-game activity, which would theoretically increase in-game crime and therefore indictments on those topics. About the court itself, we want to increase the judges within the High Court because there's currently only one, and it is not really knowing who is going to be your judge. Furthermore, we are going to.
I do apologise,
to
Ognian, but that
yes,
is your
thank you.
60 seconds, and sadly, the bank of seconds has no more to give to you. So we're going to, unless there's anything further to say on the judiciary or anything justice related, we can move on
Cool.
to the next question. Anything at all?
I do.
Go ahead, Safarine. We can spare a few seconds.
Well, Ognian says he's not a barrister, but he's also not been accused of a crime that he never committed. I was being prosecuted by the courts for 3 months by a witch hunt
Congratulations.
just because I was simply in Fine Gael. It was, the Social Democrat government that he was a part of that continued the stagnation and completely delayed any competent judge to solve my case. And by the end of it, I'm still able to be prosecuted if there is any evidence. But my case, it carried on for 3 months. Does he really think this is acceptable? I was deemed as a national security threat for simply holding a belief in Fine Gael, and that was because of the witch hunt that the government was a part of, that he was a part of, came after my party and accused us of trying to start a coup. There was the party leader was the main source of that. It
Are you
wasn't
saying that
me. It
Oswald
wasn't.
was not guilty?
Oswald was guilty. He was the party leader. It was no one
Well,
else
then
within
you're
the party.
suspected
He
because you
was
were
no one
a
else.
high-ranking
And
member.
what would we do? We were accused. We were investigated by the Garda. The Garda confirmed that we were nowhere associated
Okay.
to Oswald's coup. And what did Ognian's government do? They continued the stagnation and decline within the judiciary. They appointed these incompetent
Relevant
judges. These
objections, Your Honor?
incompetent judges, and what what have they actually done? Nothing. The
Right,
only
Safarine,
judge I know is Dave.
What's
Can
the
I get a
relation
rebuttal,
between
please?
your court case and incompetent judges? I'm struggling to understand here what the relevance
Can I
The
get
is.
rebuttal
judiciary
to
needs
Tian,
the
please?
judiciary needs active, stable judges. We didn't have that under Ognian's government. It was
So
inactive. They were
who
inactive,
are you
Well,
incompetent
have
calling?
you ever
judges.
heard of
It
court
was
case
his
and
government that
restoration of
appointed these
we
judges. It
need
is his government that should have took the blame for it, and they didn't do that because they don't believe in transparency. They don't believe in accountability, and he's a massive hypocrite.
Safarine.
Can
But
I
who are
get
you
this
calling a
I'm
I'm
bad
going to
calling
judge?
it
quickly just restore order. I want to give Ognian a bit of a chance to reply to that, as I do understand he's been trying to get a word in. Ognian, if you'd like to get your word in now.
I would like to defend the integrity of Miasa Tarnishta and Francis Stishak because following the Kirkgate, multiple judges and the Attorney General have resigned. I believe there are around 3 judges have resigned. Under my tenure as Tarnishta and Francis Stishak, we have appointed a new President of the High Court, a new Supreme Court Justice, and a new High Court Justice. So we have been taking the necessary steps to improve the court activity following the incident which happened unfortunately, and sadly my government which I was part of has been plagued of this massive drownage of talent, if I may call it. Now about her national security threat declaration, Garda had the full right to investigate a party of which leader was accused of treason. My advice to the Taoiseach is to consult with her barrister and to respect the authority of the court and the Garda. Thank you.
Right. We do need to move on. We are racing against the clock, and the bank of seconds is a bit of a run on Wall Street here. So we're going to be moving on to the next question. For this next question, I'm going to remix it like I did with an earlier question. I want a one-sentence answer for this one. I want one sentence, no filler, just honesty. The question is as follows. We'll go in the same order as we have always been throughout this debate. The question is as follows. It's the Friday before voting opens, and while normally that would be a great start to some sort of Christmas poem, no party has released its manifesto at the time of that question being written, at least. When can voters expect to see yours, and why the delay? You have one sentence to answer this question. Safarine, you can take us however long you want with that sentence. Longest sentence on the planet, but please, one sentence explanation. Please answer the question.
It's a tradition of my leadership in Fine Gael to deliver it early in the morning. So you won't see it today. You'll see it tomorrow morning. Bright and early. I don't bright and early. I always, bright and early.
I think that's about 1.5 sentences, but we'll give you a pass. I'm going to move on to Erin now. Erin, your answer, please. One sentence. Let's hear it.
Good things come to those that wait.
Very poetic. And Ognian, your sentence, please, as an answer to the question.
Blender does not like Bulgaria.
Well, I admire the honesty from all of you. That's very great. And another question here where we are expecting full honesty. I want a name and I want an explanation. You're not going to be timed for it, but do keep it under like 60 seconds. The question is as follows. Who is your favourite former Taoiseach and why? I want to hear a name and an explanation. Safarine, we're going to start with you. Favourite Taoiseach and why?
I think I'm going to have to go with Diarmuid O'Donovan. The reasoning behind is because he's a pragmatic conservative and he understood the job of leader of the opposition for many months. And, we're both very similar. We are convicted, we represent conviction, common sense, and we both had a long journey to become Taoiseach. So I think, Diarmuid O'Donovan would be
Rightio.
mine.
Thank you very much. Erin, favourite Taoiseach and why?
Okay, so for favorite Taoiseach, there's going to be two contenders for me, and they're both really close. So obviously, first and foremost, my predecessor, Leah VNX of Sinn Féin. But then, obviously, we can't forget Evan B. Yates was an underrated Taoiseach. She didn't have her time. She didn't have her time to shine. Okay, it was cut short. Okay, but she was great. Two
Didn't,
socialist queens. Thank you.
didn't you say that about me?
Well,
I
no.
do regret to intrude here, but I did ask for a single name, so we do have to disqualify your answer now. We're gonna move on to Ognian. Ognian, favourite Taoiseach and why, please?
Oh, I love most of them, but I would go with the 2015 Taoiseach, Rafe. Rafe said, the current Attorney General. I believed he had really good ideas, but sadly his tenure was cut really short.
Very interesting choices. Although nobody asked me, my personal choice would be Valorist because I came up with his slogan when he was running for Sinn Féin leader. 2 V's make a W. Vote Valorist. 2 V's make a W. I came up with that, and I'm taking credit for it forever. So Valorist is my personal favourite. Anyway, we're going to move on to a much more serious question now. And it's about our services. So listen closely. This is the next question for all three of you. Confidence in the Garda and the National Ambulance Service is low, and both have been described as under-resourced and neglected. How would your government restore these vital public services and ensure they are properly equipped to serve the nation of Ireland? Same order as before, Safarine, you're going to have 60 seconds for this. Do give us your answer.
Well, thank you, Dean. I love the Garda Commissioner. I think he's a great man. I DM him every election and I say, hey, how are you? And he says the same thing every time. So I actually do love speaking to him. But what I would say is I would happily work with Gold Command in the National Ambulance Service to strengthen retention campaigns. I think that's really important, especially because it's such a vital service, cross-border. I think that's what we also need at the moment. But the Garda and the National Ambulance Service have great leadership. We need to continue that great leadership, but we just need to support them with their retention campaigns. And it also relates to community activity as a whole. You know, if we get more people into these services, the community will create activity, as we'll have more criminals on the streets, certainly from parties opposite. But we'll have more criminals on the streets, and we'll just have a thriving community based on public services which are functioning very
I do
effectively.
apologise. That is all your time. So we're gonna have to cut your time short there.
Thank
We're
you
now
for
going to
quoting
move
me.
on to Erin. We're just quickly switching out the invisibility filter on our cameras, as we did accidentally turn that on. But no, oh, there we go. We've turned it off now. She's back. Erin, it's your time to shine. You got 60 seconds to answer the question. Do begin.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, as many people might know by the yellow role I do have in the main server, I am a long-time member of the National Ambulance Service. And frankly, I think it's the greatest agency in Ireland. So a lot of you might have seen in my campaigning message that I said I want to bring NAS international, and I was questioned for it, but I will stand by this. We saw such great success when we brought Oglig International with our great partners in Sweden, and I want to do the same for the National Ambulance Service. My Minister for Foreign Affairs, she's met with Sweden in the last term when she was in government under Sinn Féin. She's seen their ambulance equipment, and it's such high quality. It looks so cool, and this is something that we could get for Ireland. So obviously Hugo is the chief ambulance officer, and he's also a developer, and he's been working so hard on new NAS stuff to implement into the new game, which is going to be really exciting, and it's going to be a big step for the National Ambulance Service. So that will be really fun.
That is all your time, I'm afraid, Erin. So we're gonna have to move on now to Ognian for his answer on the same question. Of course, Ognian, we grant you 60 seconds. Use them wisely. You may begin.
Oh no, 6 seconds. Well, about the Garda, we wish to work with every parliamentary party and the Garda leadership about the revision of the legislation regarding stop and search powers, the emergency powers, the contingency powers, and other powers and authorities of the Garda which can come into handy during in-game and roleplay events such as protests and so whatnot. Also considering now the implementation of the Second Amendment within Ireland. About the ambulance service, obviously I'm a student paramedic there, so me and Taryn really share our medical passion. Now about the reforms within the NAS, I believe obviously their main source of activities is in-game activity. We wish to try stimulate events where every sections of our community, private sections, police, ambulance services, ordinary citizens, and even the criminal sections be involved, so every aspect of the community has to do something. Thank you.
Radio, thank you very much, Ognian. Your time ran out just on the brink there of you finishing. Do we have any comments at all before we move on to the next question? And please do not make them 5 minutes long, but anything at all, any further discussion from any of the candidates here? I sense nothing. We're going to move very swiftly on to the last general question, I believe. Yes, the last general question, and then we go back to the individual ones. Don't worry, there's only one each for you at the end. So, the next question is as follows. Please listen closely. Defence forces have been a central topic this election, with some parties proposing to abolish the Department of Defence and grant the forces full operational autonomy. What is your party's position on this, and would you support giving the Defence forces complete autonomy? Safarine, we're going to start with you, as is the norm. You get 60 seconds. Use them wisely. Answer the question for us, please.
Well, you know, we will abolish the Department of Defence, and sorry, I'm laying out here, but I would put the powers under the Department of Defence, the Department of Justice. It's more coherent, and I think it's more acceptable if we do that. I mean, I understand I think what we have to do, if we put it under foreign affairs, we have to have a real question about our neutrality and our diplomacy. About that. So obviously I would happily work with parties opposite to discuss how we can actually come to that agreement, but I am clear that we will abolish the Department of Defence. But on the IDF, I think we've made some great progress within government. Obviously, we have to work with our international allies to get up joint trainings done. And that's what my government's really done. I've spoken to South Africa, I've spoken to New Zealand, I've spoken to Brazil. We've spoken to so many countries about getting these joint trainings done. It will take a lot more progress, it will take a lot more delivery, but we are committed to do that.
That
We
is
even
your
held.
time, I will admit, Savarine. I'm afraid we have no more seconds to give here. Gonna have to move straight on to Erin. Erin, you now get the same 60 seconds that you've always had throughout this entire debate. Use them wisely, as always. Sort of.
Wow.
You may begin.
Wow. Thank you, Dean. Thank you. So generally, I think the biggest problem lately with the Department of Defense is that it's seen as kind of a throwaway position, and we get people that maybe don't have much experience in the defense sector and don't really know what they're doing, sitting in the seat of the Minister for Defense. So generally, I do think the best course of action would be to abolish the department and move the powers of that department underneath the department of the Taoiseach. But what's that going to do? It's still a politician in charge. What's this going to change, you might ask? I would be proposing the creation of a permanent and emphasis on permanent defence liaison. And how this differs from just a Minister of Defence would be the permanent defence liaison would be specifically picked for their experience in both the defence forces and also in the Oireachtas and in government. Someone that knows how to walk basically both walks. They have they have their finger in every pie. They know how both areas work. They know how the government can support the defence forces, and they know how to make it work.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you off there. That is your time, Aaron. You did not use it wisely. I'm kidding. You used it as best as you could, I imagine. Ognian, you better do the same thing. I'm expecting high standard answers from you here. You get the same 60 seconds. You may begin.
Thank you. I believe so far we have forgotten the existence of the Defense Council, which is the main, legally speaking, the main source of communications. Obviously, we're going to make sure it works well as the main source of communications and collaboration between the armed forces and the government. About the Department of Defense, we don't want to repeal it from the Ministers Act because without it there will be too few ministers for future coalition architecting, and we wish to give this flexibility for future governments to adjust to the ministries they were elected upon after all. So we are not going to repeal it from the Ministers Act, but we're going to transfer its functions to the Foreign Department because, quite honestly, the defense ministers work mostly with the foreign minister, and the Taoiseach already holds most of the important authority, such as advising the president on certain appointments within the military. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ognian. Do we have any discussion at all before we go to the individual questions? Do we have any
I
discussion, any
do.
comments? Go ahead,
do.
Safarine. We can spare a couple of seconds.
So what I would say to Erin is that the department's Taoiseach is meant to be small and strategic. It's not meant to be operational. It's not really designed to run large permanent functions like the defence forces. And I understand it's really good for communication, and I completely support that. But it's bad for day-to-day defence management. So I would just want to know what her thoughts were behind this.
Go ahead, Erin. You want to give an answer?
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, for day-to-day operations, is it not best to streamline all the communications straight to the top? That's my position on it anyway. If you disagree, that's fine for you. But streamlined governance for the defense forces, I think that's the best way forward.
We're speaking like the defense, like the IDF isn't already self-sufficient. Most of their events are done by themselves. The joint trainings is no government can claim full ownership of them because it's collaborations with the civil
Absolutely.
service and
Day-to-day
the
management
military
is
attaches.
for the chief of staff, not for the
Yep,
government. The
I
government
agree.
is only here to support them legislatively. I completely agree.
However, I would like to point out why does Bo wants to clutter the Justice Ministry by also including the Justice Department? I apologize, with including also the management of the not the management, the oversight of the Irish Defence Forces. They already have the guard and the courts. Why would a minister be given more into their plate?
And also to point out, Bo also failed to amend the Justice Department already this term. What's saying that she
I
will
mean,
succeed to do it next term?
I mean, that's basically the return of the Ministry for Internal Affairs and Defense. What's the difference? It's just plus the cards. She's just returning to the old with the old material, which I believe she supported the changes within the ministries. She can correct me if I'm wrong.
I
Safarine, would you
actually,
like to?
I believe I was in government when the Department of Defense was abolished. I believe it was abolished under Mr. Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been god over a year, and I can't even
The
remember.
Ministries Act was amended under Leah, where she dissolved the Ministry for Internal Affairs and Defense by moving Guardian into Justice and moving Defense into Department of Defense.
Yeah, I believe the Fine Gael Green Party government introduced the Department for Domestic Affairs and Defence, and I think that is what most parties did follow, even though a lot of parties didn't really have a domestic affairs section. But what I would say is that I am fully committed to abolishing the Department of Defence and putting it into justice. I think it is the right move, especially when it's all about security and resilience. So that's what really I'm going into. That's
We
my
are
log.
going to. I'm
Do
going
you
to cut
not
you off
think that
there, mostly
mixing military and
because
policing is dangerous?
I'm afraid I will have to hurry us along because we've got some individual questions that I'd like to get on with, and also the teleprompter is screaming really loudly at me in fonts that I didn't know existed. So we're going to move on
Leah
to
is
the second
abusive,
lot
yes.
of individual questions now, and we're going to go in the same order as before. We're going to try and make this as quick as possible because, yes. Now, Safarine, time to begin with you. Ah, scary fonts. Now, Safarine, your question is as follows. You will have 120 seconds to answer this one. So, like at the start. This is the question. Do listen closely. Safarine, Fine Gael's political style appears to closely mirror that of the United Kingdom's Conservative Party. In real life, that is. There isn't one on Roblox anymore. The Social Democrats reported that 43% of your landmark speech was nearly identical to one delivered by the real life Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch. Why this focus on a real life British party and its leader? And how can you assure voters that this style of politics won't lead Fine Gael to an electoral outcome similar to theirs? For context, just look at Reform UK's Twitter page if any one of our audience is curious at all. Anyway, Safarine, you have 120 seconds to answer this. 2 minutes. You may begin.
Well, I am a conservative, so of course I'm going to follow what fellow conservatives are doing. And, I am in my belief that Kemi Badenoch is a great leader, and that's what she is one of my inspirations. But, my campaign throughout the term, I think my first one was renewing our commitment. Then it was renewal, let's build Ireland's future together. And then it was stronger businesses, stronger communities. And now my manifesto is called The Challenge of Our Times, which is not Kemi Badenoch's manifesto. But in my landmark speech, I talked about we needed to get serious. We need to be a party of serious people because we're becoming a party in government. If you look at the last two elections, I've won the last two elections. And I've took that approach. They say there's something wrong with being a conservative in Ireland. I don't believe that. And I'm arguing that we need to build on the common ground, which most people in Ireland lie in, not the centre. I am firmly on the right, and nothing is ever going to stop me from being on the right. But what I would say is that we need to get Ireland working again, and that is by having a truly authentic Conservative Party. So I'm not going to apologise for anyone that doesn't like the direction that Fine Gael is in. You're not in Fine Gael, so you don't have a right to judge. Fine Gael is what a party of the right looks like. We believe in conviction, common sense, and collaboration to meet the people of Ireland. But I was not elected as the leader of Fine Gael to continue Oswald. I was not elected by Fine Gael to be passive to the sheer incompetence of the other parties. I'm directly involving myself in national politics that is building communities together, and I speak to people across Ireland every day, and they are supporting my vision because I believe a better future is possible for Ireland, and that is why I've launched campaigns to get Ireland working
I'm
again
afraid that
and to
is
create support.
all of your time there, Safarine. So My apologies, but that is all your time. Erin, it's time for your question. Do listen closely. Erin, Sinn Féin has adopted many of the policies introduced by your predecessor, Leia VNX, who led the party to victory in October of last year. Is your party struggling to distinguish itself from Leia's leadership and present fresh, independent policies? You have 2 minutes to answer this question. You know, the bank of seconds is very generous this time round. You may begin.
Well, definitely think it's always nice to have new, fresh ideas passed down from leader to leader, which I definitely do think I have presented some different ideas from Leah. But generally, I will say the bottom line of I joined Sinn Féin because I believed in the vision Leah had, and I believed in what Leah was presenting. And I think that's generally what everyone should strive for in a party, is to have all your members confident in what you are putting forward together collectively as a party. The policies are something we worked on together, and those policies are something that I'm happy to continue to bring with me into the next election until we are able to implement them and put them into place. So I hope that answers the question, I guess.
Well, that was about 50 seconds. Congratulations, you're in credit to the bank. We're going to move on now to Ognian. That is, of course, if I can look in his general direction. My apologies there. Ognian, it's time for your question, and it is as follows. Listen closely. Ognian, voters have repeatedly rejected your policies at the polls, and critics say your platform often lacks originality and focus. How will this election be different? And how does your manifesto offer a truly fresh choice for the electorate? You have 2 minutes to answer this. You may begin.
Thank you very much, Tian. I would obviously disagree because since I have leader at every election, I have been gaining seats, obviously with the exceptions of the one which the seats of the door got reduced, but they were equaled out if you compare it. But yes, Social Democrats are growing at a rapid rate, and this is for the first time ever. The Social Democrats are projected to surpass Fianna Gael and be first into the polls by gaining the enormous 7 seats. Obviously, what separates us from the other parties is our policies. Obviously, for the Department of Defense we're unique, on the national calendar we're unique, we're the party which pledges mostly to cooperate with the group management. We're also different about, let's say, the petition system moving to the main server, the abolition of the national unions, the Visit Island scheme, the... what else?
What about Jobs
The
Ireland?
the voting record into you. No, get out. That's now yours. You took it. You took it. It's yours. I give it. Happy Merry Christmas. So yes, there are many things we separate separate us from the other parties, and I believe the electorate can be well satisfied with our vision. And yes, we have some basic visions because they have been unfulfilled, and I believe now as leader I can fulfill them and bring Ireland into rise of activity and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ognian. Now, I'm afraid we don't have any time left to do any closing statements. I do apologise to all 3 of you there. So we are going to move towards wrapping up this very lovely debate that I think we've all had. So some closing remarks from myself. Thank you very much, members of our esteemed audience, for joining me for this debate. I'd also like to thank personally Safarine, Erin, and Ognian for all joining me on this amazing stage tonight, and for making it so exciting and so passionate and, you know, just cool in general. What I will say on behalf of these leaders, what they're all going to be asking, if they did have closing statements, is they're all going to ask for your vote. And quite frankly, just vote. Make sure that you vote. It doesn't matter for who, doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter when, just do it during the
What
polling
will?
period. But just vote, participate, because it not only contributes to community activity, but if 7 votes can get a man like Mr. Bruce into the Oireachtas, could you imagine what 1 vote can do to make all the difference?
What?
Thank you so much for joining. That
We
made no
need
sense.
Stop
Thank you
lying. Stop lying. They stopped. They stopped Labour. I stopped Labour. It was my seat. It was my seat.